This basket could be a game changer for you this week. And I'll get to that, but first I was thinking about a few weeks ago when I was teaching in church, and I realized my phone wasn't on Do Not Disturb. And I realized that because as I was trying to teach a room full of people, I started getting shark pictures on my phone. Because my friends thought it was really funny that when I used a shark illustration in the sermon that day to send me as many memes and GIFs as they could with shark attacks, which I'm sure they thought was hilarious, but it pulled me out of the moment I was in and into my phone. And I'm thinking about that a lot lately as we're navigating the current climate that we're in, and so many of us continue to be taken out of the moment that we're in because of our phones. And I don't know if yours is like mine, but I'd say once every 5 to 10 minutes, this thing is either buzzing in my pocket or on a table because there's a new headline, and there's a new text message, and there's new data, or there's a new statistic, or there's something that builds on an idea that I'd already heard, or somebody who wants to counter an idea that they feel like I might be following. And friends, it can be exhausting. And it's in the midst of that I thought, gosh, what do we need to do to navigate this world we're in, where information matters, and we need to know what's going on, but we also need to be aware of the people who God has put in our lives, who are in the rooms we're in. And so, I wanted to talk today for just a moment about what it looks like to be intentional about who we're letting speak into our lives and when we're letting them do that. You see, the writer of Proverbs 4 wrote to his son, and we see in verse 23, he tells him that above all else, guard your heart, because it's from that everything else flows. And my concern is for us that as we let others ping us, and we let news agencies tell us when we need to be thinking about things, that we're not being very careful about guarding our hearts in the midst of this. And even beyond that, Jesus teaches that the greatest commandment above all else is to love the Lord our God with all of our hearts and all of our minds and all of our souls. And I wonder if you're like me these days, and if part of your mind is elsewhere, and part of your heart is elsewhere, as our concern level rises and falls with the last message that we got. But if we want to be people who give our whole mind to God and our whole heart to God, we need to learn how to better guard those things against those distractions that might come. A simple tool for that, I can actually illustrate for you on a whiteboard. Now, the art's not going to be very good because as my junior college art teacher would tell you, well, he wouldn't tell you much because I didn't finish the class because I was not very good at art. But I've seen a bell curve a lot lately, and I can kind of draw one. But this is a different bell curve than you're used to seeing. This is an anxiety bell curve, and it's a tool that you and I can use as we navigate each day to determine how we're doing at guarding our heart and guarding our mind, and how we're doing at letting outside voices influence our inside voices and thoughts. And you see, on this bell curve, you have most people living here in the middle of it, but on the fringes, you have people who are kind of ignoring the situation that is around us. They've turned concern off because maybe they don't think that they'll be impacted. Maybe they think that things are an overreaction. But for whatever reason, and there's not many of them, but there are some of them who've decided this doesn't concern them, and they're on this side of the curve. There are others who are in panic mode. They're just in full-on, the sky is falling mode. And though things can be concerning at times, their reaction may be an overreaction. There aren't a lot of them, but there's some of them. And sometimes we let these voices become the loudest when most of us actually live here in the middle. And I'd encourage you, if you've been feeling additional anxiety lately, if you're concerned that your concern is too much, take a look at this and consider where you'd fall on it. Maybe draw one for yourself in your home. Grab a piece of paper and draw out a curve and name, maybe today you're here. And maybe you don't want to be there. Maybe you feel concern welling up in you in a way that feels like if you're not careful, you might go into full panic mode, which is not where God has called us to live our lives. And maybe you're somebody who is actually here and you're like, maybe I should actually care a little bit more so I can better care for those who are living elsewhere in the middle. But wherever you land, I want you to think about it this way, that Jesus calls us to be bringers of peace and not panic. That God's Spirit, as it works in and through our lives, is leading us out into a world around us, whether it is physically or digitally, to be bringers of peace. And if where you fall today on that anxiety wave draws you more to be a bringer of panic than a bringer of peace, I would consider telling you today that you might want to reevaluate who is speaking into your life. Which push notifications are coming across your screen that are making you feel that way? And maybe take a break for some of them. That's not to say we only listen to voices that agree with us. In fact, God is God over all things and gave us minds that can think critically, and we should expose ourselves to varying opinions on lots of things. But if those opinions draw us closer to panic than peace, this might be a season where you limit the amount that those voices can speak into the world you're experiencing. And if you're someone who feels like when they read a headline, you can use that headline to bring peace to others, friends, we need you now more than ever. We need the church to be bringers of peace in this season, to let those know that feel as though they are alone, that God has not forgotten them, that he's with them. And once you've determined kind of where you fall on that anxiety wave and you've kind of landed on who can speak in and when, I'd encourage you to get a basket like this. It can be any shape, it can be any size, but there's a habit that I've picked up from my wife, because she is much smarter than I am, and it usually arrives at things like this quicker than I do. But there's a basket in our house, and every day, there's part of the day where we all take our digital devices and we put them in the basket. And we engage with the people who are there with us. And we'll get back to those devices later, but we don't let them tell us how we should be feeling in that moment. And instead, we experience life with those who God has put around us. And that basket might be helpful for you at dinner time in the next few days. Maybe that basket's going to be helpful to you as you wake up in the morning and the job you're used to going to is not one you can go to right now. And so maybe you put your phone away and you catch your breath and you be present in the moment. All of us could use this season to better listen to what it is that God's voice is telling us. His Spirit wants to say something to each and every one of us in this season. But a lot of us haven't had a chance to listen, or in those times where we've tried to listen, that phone has interrupted us. Or that voice that we've let speak into our lives, it speaks in and it takes us out of that moment. And I'd encourage you to find a basket, to put that phone away for part of the day. Maybe schedule in parts of your day where you're going to check the news, and other parts where you're going to put it to the side, and be okay with that. And use this season to be people who bring others closer to peace than panic. Now, as you navigate the world around you, if you find yourself in need of something, if you find yourself feeling alone, we want you to know that as a church, we're here for you. Whether you're 5 miles away or further, we're an email away. If you send us a message at info@reallife.la and let us know what your need is, let us know how we can be praying for you, we'd love to reply back and see is there a way we can meet that need. So many people from our own local church have stepped up in the last few weeks and said, here's what I have to offer. Here's what my time looks like here, or what my talents look like. Here's how I can financially support what the church is up to. Here's what I have. And if that's you, if you haven't yet let us know how you can help others in this season, we'd love for you to reach out by email as well. Just send us a message at info@reallife.la. Let us know what resources God has put on your heart to be able to give to others, and we'll figure out a way to take those who have to care for those who need. That's part of what the church is here for. And as we navigate the coming weeks together, know that you're not alone, that we have a big God who's in charge of all things, who does not give us a spirit of fear, but instead wants to give us a spirit of courage, that we would not be afraid. We'd be able to bring peace to others. God bless. We'll see you next time.